Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the DTC Insider podcast. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and today I'm going to interview the one and only Jon Loomer. I'm sure almost everyone listening knows who he is, but in case you don't, he's the OG on Facebook ads. Yes, I define him in such a way because he's been in the space for, I believe, over 12 or 13 years, since 2011, I believe. And I learned a lot from him, and I know many people listening to this learned a lot from him too. And as a matter of fact, we recorded an episode a year ago. So I'm interested in knowing what changed in 2023 meta ads, what worked, what didn't, and many other exciting things we will discuss today. Hey, Jon, thanks for coming back to the show.
Hey, Brian, how's it going? Really happy to be back, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. New year, new us, I guess. I don't know. New
Yeah.
year, new us. But I know that there's a new year here, and I wanted to start by congratulating you because I know that you went out of your comfort zone, and correct me if I'm wrong, with the long form video
Short form.
goal that you set for
Sure.
yourself, and you actually did it. You published at least one video every single day last year. How'd that feel?
Yeah. So short form video. When was the date of the last time we recorded? Was it before I started that, or was it after?
It was in January, so probably
Was
a
it
little
January?
bit after.
So I already had the goal at that point. Yeah, it was pretty awesome, man. I mean, just like as we talked a year ago, it was something that was new to me, but I resisted short form video forever, and most types of video, especially just showing my face and getting in front of a camera and stuff. And a year ago, I'd started seeing the power of it. I also knew I had to make it work because many of the organic things I had relied upon for years didn't quite work as well as they did, which was really important because that was negatively impacting my business, and I needed to do something new. And so I published a different video every day, and that it started. My original goal when I started it in 2022, I just focused on TikTok at first. And I was like, okay, well, I got this video, might as well publish it to Facebook and Instagram Reels. Might as well publish it to YouTube. Might as well publish it to LinkedIn. So I ended up experimenting with even some other platforms beyond that too, Pinterest and a couple others that ended up abandoning. But um, by the end of the year, or most of the year, I was publishing to 5 different platforms. I also ended up creating a custom post type for my website. So I had that video embedded there as well with kind of like a short blog post. And it was awesome. For anyone wanting to create content and make an impact, that's a good way to do it, is to focus on the creation and the publishing rather than what are the metrics, and celebrating that accomplishment of publishing every single day and making it part of your routine.
Yeah, I even remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I even remember one of the first videos you published on TikTok, or the first that you were saying something like, hey, I'm just testing this out. I will get better, but I wanted to see what happened. I really remember that, and it's inspiring to see what you have accomplished after a year.
This is gonna suck, and that's okay. Is the probably the one you're referring to is September
Yeah.
30th of 2022. It was honestly, that was a groundbreaking moment for me. And I feel like it just kind of a light bulb went off. Because up until that point, like for a few days, maybe a week or so, I knew I had to create short form video, but I was so worried about making it look good and knowing what I was doing and all this kind of stuff. All of a sudden, when I realized, and I just publicly put it out there, that I was going to create a bad video and that was perfectly okay. Like I feel like a a lot of pressure was lifted. Knowing that I wasn't going to create good videos automatically, I needed to create a bunch of bad ones because I didn't know what I was doing, and I would learn from it. And I would encourage anyone who's trying something new to take on a similar outlook, that you can't expect to be perfect and create anything good the first time, and it's okay to create bad stuff first that you will learn from, and that's kind of what those first few months were all about.
Yeah, I even remember Gary Vaynerchuk saying, go, I don't know, 10, 20 years, scroll in my
Mhm.
feed to, to that point, and you'll see the stuff I was creating then is not the overnight success. So it's okay if you do
Right.
too. But, now with, let's say, it's easier to say it, but in the moment, I think that it's not easy, right? To want to give up, to say, hey, nobody's watching the videos, or probably this is a waste of time. I don't know how many thoughts uh, went through your
Yeah.
head back
Uh,
then, right?
well, yeah. But I think that's also a good thing if nobody's watching your videos, if you're creating bad ones that you're not super proud of, right? So that's again the kind of the mindset shift for me that was important. Um, is that number one, I knew I wasn't creating very good ones that I felt really good about. So I was okay that I didn't have this huge audience yet. But number two, my primary focus is not that I completely ignored metrics, but my primary focus was I am publishing a video today. Did I accomplish it? Yes. So that's a celebration. It's something to be proud of. And it's working toward this end goal that I know it's going to get better and better and better. And then as a result of it, because there's also there's a certain amount of blind faith and commitment and understanding that I know that if I keep doing this every day, there's a purpose to it. That 6 months from now, I will be in a better place than I am now. That I will be in a better place then than I am now. And so what was really helpful was, okay, once I had those 6 months or so under my belt, can look back and not only see what the videos looked like, but also where are my metrics? And yeah, those metrics weren't overnight, and they're up and down, and they will drive you crazy if you obsess over them. Like right now, my TikTok videos, my views are down. It's just like one week you can feel like a god, and next week they're down, and so be it. You just have to let it be. But overall, the entire trend of the followers, of the views, of the engagement, of people telling you that they saw you from your videos, that's why they're here, kind of thing. It's impactful, but you don't see it overnight. And if you obsess over just like how that one video does, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. So it really is a a mindset shift that you have to have. Uh, I think to survive long term in any type of content creation.
We'll be back to the show in a minute, but before doing that, let me ask you a question. Are you tired of your cash flow being tied up in inventory that takes ages to arrive from China? How many times have you missed out on potential sales during peak season due to inventory delays? Well, here's some news that might change the game for you. Imagine increasing your lead time by 10x without ordering inventory in advance, reducing your inventory risk by over 66%, and enjoying 3x better cash flow. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, with Portless, this dream can become a reality. Ready to revolutionize your inventory and fulfillment process? Visit portless.com today and let them help you with your inventory and fulfillment needs. Yes, I think I heard it from Alex Hormozy, who said that success is achieved by making ordinary actions for an extraordinary period of time,
Mhm.
and not the other way around, not extraordinary actions for a short period of time, right? So it's doing the
Yes, sir.
basics. He said something like, uh, the successful people doesn't skip the basics, right? They always do the basics. But for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, in this case, you say to yourself, hey, it was the first year, I'm proud of it, but I gotta keep running. Why? And
Mhm.
explain that. But I would love you to say it and walk us through your journey in the meantime.
Absolutely. I mean, what you say there is totally true. I don't feel like anything I've done with video is extraordinary by any sense of the imagination. It's just that I did something that most people aren't willing to do, and that's to do it every day because it's so easy to quit because people get so hung up on the metrics and there are people watching, are people liking, are people following me? Like, I think the more you focus on the things that you can control, the happier you'll be, and the more accomplished you'll feel by, oh, I did that thing that I said I was going to do, and is assuming that that thing that you commit to is will also give you a better chance to reach those other goals, right? That's kind of what I was looking at here. So anyway, I published these videos across 5 platforms. So it started with TikTok, Facebook and Instagram Reels, uh, YouTube Shorts, and LinkedIn, and then created the custom post type on my website. And I say TikTok was surprisingly the most, I want to say consistent, because like I said, that's probably the most up and down, where one week I feel like a god, the next week, like I feel like I'm struggling to get 100 or 1,000 views on a video. But in terms of overall impact, I mean, I got to over 28,000 followers on that platform. And I was the last person you expect to get on TikTok a year and a half ago. So that in itself was a big accomplishment. Um, the YouTube side was really fast. The other thing to understand, it's the exact same video I published to all of these places. One minor caveat: LinkedIn, since it's not a short form video platform, and I I had to position my copy or my captions in a certain area for all the other platforms because you worry about the stuff on the side and the bottom. That's not a concern on LinkedIn. So I center it's a silly little thing. Center my captions for LinkedIn, and then I write a lot more on LinkedIn that I also use on that custom post type on my website. But otherwise, it's the same exact file. But what works on one platform may not work on the other, and it's completely unpredictable, right? So I think another reason why I was not hung up on like how each individual video did on each platform is because the impact was how it did across all of them. That's what mattered. And it wasn't for one video, it was for all of the videos. That's where the impact happened. I think there was no better example of that than YouTube. I almost quit publishing to YouTube Shorts, even though it required very little work just to publish to this extra place. In the early going, I was getting like 30, 40, 50 views per video. And it's like, why am I even doing this? This is a waste of my time. But I kept doing it. I kept doing it. And over time, I started realizing something. First of all, the overall views went up every single month. And a big reason for that was that the more content you give YouTube in particular, the more opportunities you get for views. So even today, most of my videos don't get lately I've all of a sudden been getting some videos that'll get 2,000 or so views in the first couple of days, but a lot of them are only getting a few hundred. What happens though is because of search. I think it's over 40% of my views come from search. So a lot of those views are coming on videos that are older, that aren't necessarily anything that I published within the last few days. So that I'm not even noticing, oh, that video is doing well. Because that's what I think most of us focus on is like, what are these most recent things that we just published? How are they doing? So I completely forget about them after a week or two. So that was happening. So over the course of the year, it was every single month the number of views went up on YouTube. And I didn't even really notice it until I started paying attention to this at the end of the year. And it's funny because my YouTube channel had actually been around since 2012. I thought that like my best period of time was like between 2013 and 2015. But the nice thing about YouTube is they've got metrics that go back to the beginning of time. So I was able to see like, no, the stuff I did back then really wasn't that effective. And now like seeing this huge upward slope in not only views but subscribers too. Like the most subscribers I had in a year was this past year on YouTube. So, but again, it's that daily dedication that if you're obsessed with the numbers in that short window, you'll quit. And I almost did, even though I had this kind of commitment. So that was really good to see. LinkedIn, like, I mean, you mentioned seeing my videos on LinkedIn. It's not a short form video platform, but I'm especially seeing over the last month that that's where I'm getting some of the most engagement and response to these videos. And so when it comes down to it, like a lot of these platforms, I either wouldn't be active at all or I would be far less active. And instead, I'm publishing something every single day. It makes a huge impact across my overall kind of brand. Um, so that's been really important. And so heading into 2024, based on, first of all, my experience with content and kind of building a brand there with my blog. I mean, it was a similar approach. I wrote 600 blog posts in the first 2 years. And, I've heard this. Mark Schaefer was someone who's talked about this too. I think Mr. Beast is a story of someone who and I think Gary Vee's probably an example too, of someone who you think was a success overnight, but they weren't. It was that daily dedication of just putting stuff out there and hopefully good stuff. And traction takes time. And some of the timelines I've seen that it generally takes is 2 to 3 years to genuinely gain traction. So I've seen an impact at 1 year. I still have this weird goal in the back of my mind that I told my wife when I started this thing. I'm going to be the most followed TikTok account related to Meta ads. So we'll see. But I still think that there's a
Right
lot
now,
of room for growth.
are you far from that goal today?
I honestly, I don't even know who the most followed person is. But I've got 28,000 followers. Again, followers don't mean a whole lot. It's just one of those, things. Like if I keep doing what I'm doing, I know I'm going to keep growing.
It's
So
motivation.
whatever
It
that,
fuels your desire and your willingness to do it every day, right? If you have, even
right?
if, or as you said, probably, I don't know, vanity metrics. I don't know if those are vanity metrics after all, because that's the audience size that is watching your
Yeah,
videos, and it's, let's say, loyal depending on the quality of each follower. But in the end, it's proof that everything is worth it and it's paying off. So I think that it's a good goal to have in mind, uh, always.
yeah. I mean, the main thing is measurement with video is so hard. Um, because so you have to measure what you can, but not make too much out of them, right? So like the number of followers, the number of views, the number of comments and likes, all that stuff. I think we can make too much out of them, and that's what drives people to do crazy things, like some of the insane hooks we see and just the ridiculous stuff that people do with videos. I think they miss what the end goal is with a video that is very difficult to measure, and that's your connection with people. And that's the thing that I found more than anything else made all this worthwhile was that I was making a connection with people with video that I couldn't really make with the written word. So the number of people who would sign up for something, book a one-on-one, sign up for my membership, whatever, and say, I feel like I know you because I see your videos every day. That's that you can't really measure that, So, but anyway, going into 2024, because of that timeline, we're like, I know I'm just scratching the surface. Yes, I made this impact. I feel really proud of it. I also don't feel like I'm anywhere near the finish line. Not that there is a finish line in this stuff, but to the point where it's like, hey, pat me on the back. I'm done. I'm nowhere near that because I know, like, I don't know what the slope looks like, but I feel like there's a point of critical mass where this is going to go up even faster, right? Um, I don't know if it's at after 2 years or 3 years or before that, beyond that. I don't know. I just know that there's more to be done. So I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, hopefully become more efficient. I want to create more videos. Like I do probably put too much time into editing, which limits how much you can publish, right? So I'd like to do more just like turn on the phone and talk and put it out there kind of thing that, um, as long as it's valuable, that's effective too. But I've also done some longer form video. That's where it gets tricky for me. It's more work, right? Like I did a 7-minute video this week that also made the basis of a blog post. So I want to make that part of my weekly routine where every week I have one blog. I'm going to do 2 blog posts, but one blog post that's also directly tied to a 5 to 10 minute video as well. So that's the immediate plans for 2024.
That's awesome. And very quickly, if you can mention what tools do you use to edit the videos?
Yeah, good question. So I'm going to tell you, but at the same time, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, I've got to do it that way. So, and I'll explain why. I use ScreenFlow to edit all my videos. So I do it all externally on my laptop. And so I use like video actions and all kinds of stuff. I record with this external mic, so that actually records the ScreenFlow. I use my phone in cinematic mode on my iPhone, so I use the rear facing camera, which mirrors to my iPad, so I can see that I'm lined up and whatnot. Then I put that on my laptop and match it all up and edit it. Then I use CapCut for the captions. Now, I tell you all that, but at the same time, if anyone like saw my videos and say, "Oh, I want to create that," I need to use ScreenFlow. You're going to drive yourself crazy because it's not like a template that I use to do what I do with ScreenFlow. ScreenFlow has been around forever, and I've used it for more than a decade, which is why I use it for this. I'm comfortable with it. Like I tried to use the script, I tried to use CapCut's editing, and I hate the way everything snaps and does like I'm comfortable with the way that ScreenFlow works. So I use that. And I found ways to make it do what I want it to do. Right. So point being, there are limitless apps to edit videos. Use what you're comfortable with. Like if you already have used something before that you're comfortable with, use that for short form too. That's, I guess, my best advice. Um, Beyond that, ScreenFlow is an option. I know a lot of people use Descript. CapCut's a decent free option. Like if I had never tried to edit a video before, I would probably be using CapCut right now to edit my videos.
I guess the important thing that you are trying to say is that, or you're actually saying it, is that you shouldn't let the confusing tools, for probably more complex tools, to prevent you from doing it and recording videos every single day or with the cadence anyone wants, right?
Yeah, there's not like a magic tool that's going to make your videos amazing. Like ultimately, what do you want your video to look like and do? And use whatever your app you're using to do that. That ultimately it comes down to your own vision and then kind of putting that into action. Also don't overcomplicate it. Like most of these videos, it just needs to be like I edit it because I want to get it to under 60 seconds. So and if, I don't know if we need to get into this, but I do script out my videos. And I've got down the process. Again, this is what happens when you publish a video every day for 365 days. My process is so down now. I know that when I do my script, if my characters are under 1,050 characters, that should be about 60 seconds. Anything over it, I know I have to do some editing to take stuff out. So I script it, but I don't really read it. It's like I script it out by line. So like I look at my line and then I say it, but like I try to be as natural and conversational as possible. Not necessarily word for word, but trying about that. Then I go back and forth and then I edit it all together. So that's kind of my process and trying to make it as natural as possible. Because basically what I tried to do in the beginning was just, okay, I have a topic, some very basic bullet points, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm too wordy, as you can tell right now. It's really tough to keep something under 60 seconds, first of all, if I'm just going off the top of my head. I also found that editing was a nightmare because I would then cut stuff out and then put things together that didn't sound right together, since it wasn't scripted. And then I would always struggle getting across the words in the right way if it was top of mind. This way I could just think, and honestly, I think I express myself better writing in the first place. So then if I can write it out, get the character count right, I mean, it's been a really good process for me.
For me too. I mean, it's really tough to record a video looking at the camera without knowing what you, I mean, without remembering exactly what you wanted to say. Again, not word by word, but what you wanted to say, you know? So, and do you batch do you record, let's say, the weekly videos in a single day, or it varies from week to week?
No, so I've tried batching before. First of all, that's exhausting. Like if you try to batch, a week's worth of videos in one day, whew, that's a lot. And not to mention, like, do you have the ideas and the inspiration already to do that for the day? And I just found I didn't. That said, this is again why I think it was really important to have this goal of publishing one video per day. Like, prime example is heading up to the weekend, and now I'm a bad example this week because I haven't done it yet. But I don't want to be recording these on the weekend. So what I'll do is Thursday and Friday, especially, I'll start recording extras. So I want to get them recorded, edited, scheduled through Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, so I don't have to do anything. Heading up to that. So the what my motivating factor is always I'm going to have a video published every day. If I'm going to be out of town, if it's a weekend, if it's the holidays, I mean, heading into Christmas and beyond that, I was like the week or two before that, I was recording it like 2 or 3 videos every day so that I wouldn't have to do any of them during that time and just kind of relax. So that's the way I approach it. But obviously, everybody should find what works for them too.
Yes. Last question I have about this: do you publish every video at the same time for some reason, or it's random? Let's say.
I mean, it's not completely random. I mean, if so, for example, most days, uh, like Facebook and LinkedIn are slightly different because I do share blog posts there too. So I try not to compete with myself on those platforms. So if it's a blog, if I'm publish a blog post that day, that'll be the first thing that is published in the morning, which is like on Facebook is a little bit earlier. When you pick that active time when people are most at whatever, for whatever reason they think it's 5 a.m. on Facebook. I don't see that it really is any more effective, but I use their 5 a.m. thing. And then LinkedIn, I usually share like 8:30 in the morning, something like that. Because of that, for those two platforms, then the second time the second time would be when I publish my video, which is usually going to be like 4 or 5 hours later. Um, and then, but for everything else, for YouTube, I publish at I think 8:15 a.m. every day. And the main reason that's at the same time every day is because the custom post type on my website embeds the YouTube video. So then I have that published at 10 a.m. every day. So the YouTube one has to come first. Um, TikTok, YouTube, yeah, TikTok. Sometimes I do this with Instagram. Um, they'll usually be during the week, like somewhere between 8:15 and 9:15 in the morning when I publish it. It is kind of random. I try not to make it like the exact same time every day. Then on the weekend, honestly, this is just like a intuition kind of thing. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to publish first thing in the morning. I'm thinking because it's the weekend, so it's usually like between 11 and 1 or something my time. There's no science behind it, but that's what I do.
Of course, but as email and many other things. Sometimes you spot, even if it's for yourself or for an industry or overall, the certain like sweet spots for the the times that works best for your audience. Then, of course, you gotta analyze whether that was true or not. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. So talking about
Yeah.
the
And it's a little bit easier with email because I actually will have emails send at the based on the person's time zone, which honestly
okay,
probably makes the most sense, but we
yes,
can't do that with social media, unfortunately.
why can't we? Right? Yeah, that will make a lot of sense. Yes, you're right. You're
Yeah.
totally right. So talking about meta ads, 2023, just finished, and I wanted to know your thoughts, your feelings. Where are you excited about everything new that came out that year? Do you consider that it was an exciting year for meta ads, or probably not that much?
Yeah. I think it was, I mean, the most disruptive was iOS, iOS 14, 2021, right? I get all those years confused now. They all blend together, but it was most disruptive. But I would say that this is probably the year of most change. I mean, when we're talking about Advantage Plus shopping and Advantage Plus audience, Advantage Plus creative. I mean, we had Advantage Plus creative, but how it continues to be developed, like all of this with various optimizations and automation and just the way that you should advertise, just basic strategies. All of that I think has changed more this year than any other year. Um, I I think you have to, if you're in this industry, you have to be okay with that and be somewhat excited about it, uh, because otherwise it's controlling you, and you really can't resist it. But it does seem to be heading on a path of, it's probably good for advertisers, right? Streamline the process, make it easier. The algorithm is getting smarter. I mean, the fact that you can run Advantage Plus shopping campaigns and not enter any targeting and get good results is crazy, especially considering where we were a few years ago. And where a lot of people haven't abandoned this yet, where we feel like you have to, the targeting is not like the success is all about your targeting. Like we're really moving away from that. So it's been quite a shift in terms of our roles and responsibilities and how to run campaigns that work.
Do you recall any new feature that you are really excited about, or I don't know if budget scheduling or any other, or probably not?
I mean, excited about, I don't know. It's all been interesting, right? Um, it's funny because back in the day, features would get me exciting because it's usually about some new targeting option is available. Like, oh, we can never isolate this group of people before. So that was always to me really exciting. Uh, so now it's more, it's just doing things differently, and hoping to maintain at least the same results we once had, if not get better results. I think Advantage Plus audience is pretty cool. The fact that can enter in targeting suggestions, but otherwise it's going to rely on your pixel data, conversion history, and prior ad activity is the starting point, and go broader beyond that. Um, but yeah, I mean, budget scheduling was kind of cool for the holidays. The fact that you can apparently increase your budget now without restarting the learning phase. I mean, Meta even recommends budget increases, which I think is smart, and saying that if you increase it to this, it won't restart learning, because I know that freaks everybody out. So those are all interesting updates. I mean, I'll be curious to see where it all goes. I mean, it's pretty clear what the trend is. It's less input from us. Uh, Meta definitely wants us to use all placements. They definitely want us to use Advantage Plus audience and uh, want to de-emphasize the impact of our targeting inputs, and they want more creative. I mean, that's the trend line we're on, and just embrace it the way I see it.
What do you think that impacts the media buyer's role?
So really, the focus for media buyers, agencies. I mean, yeah. I mean, look. if your value was found in finding the ideal targeting audience, you need to shift your focus, because you're not necessarily going to separate yourself from other advertisers because of your ability to target. That's just that's things are changing, right? So in terms of the levers you're pulling, it doesn't mean, because I know that there's some concern that, oh, this is so easy that brands don't need an agency or media buyer anymore. They can just do it themselves. I mean, that's not it either. So in my opinion, there are a few focuses going forward. Um, First is attribution. Because I mean, really ever since iOS 14, that's been a challenge. It's also it can be complicated depending on how a website, how a business is set up. So yeah, make sure you have the pixel, obviously. Make sure you have the web version of the API set up and proper events, so, and correctly, right? So you're not over counting or under counting events. It could be standard events, custom conversions. That stuff's not easy. CRM version of the API, if that's applicable, especially for anyone who collects leads and then has salespeople call. So, in terms of results, first of all, you need to be able to measure results, and you need to say, yes, my ads led to these conversions. And if you don't have all these attribution channels set up, you're not going to be able to see that or know um, how to view those results in an educated way, right? So, do you realize you can use the compare attribution settings where you can, how much of this is 1 day view? What does that mean if 70% is 1 day view? How many of these are 1 day click? How many are 7 day click? Do you actually have some conversions that are 28-day click? That could be relevant. So many advertisers don't even look at that. So being able to digest all that information, set up attribution properly is going to be an important factor. Creative is another one, right? So whether or not that's your responsibility, I mean, the creative, the the text, are you using the multiple text options? How are you doing that? Because again, if you're one of those advertisers who insists on using 10 ad sets per campaign for everything, who likes control over everything, where you will turn certain ads and ads off based on what's working and what's not, or only uses certain placements when optimizing for conversions, like all these things where we've been micromanaging over the years. It seems like a little silly thing, but you're probably hurting results, right? So whether, with the multiple ad sets, you're talking about uh, au- auction auction overlap or audience fragmentation, you could run into as well. They're hurting your results. So first thing is just don't overcomplicate it. The creative side of it's going to be really important. You also have to know the rules. I mean, it's a basic thing, but sure, any brand could run their own ads, but if they're not careful, they're going to get their account shut down. They could get their page shut down if they don't know what they're doing. And some of these rules aren't obvious. Right. So that's an important responsibility, making sure business manager is set up properly, which seems so silly, but still so many agencies set up business manager wrong in ways that Meta doesn't want. So, I mean, that's a big part of it too. Um, it, it is getting more streamlined and easier, but that also raises the bar for everybody. So let's say that everybody starts doing things the way that Meta wants you to do it. They only use, one ad set and, use a whole bunch of creative and usually optimizing for conversions. That's the other thing, is knowing what to optimize for. Well, it's still an auction. So how do you succeed over everybody else when you're competing in that auction? How do you win those auctions? It's usually going to come down to the creative side of it.
I think there are a few additional factors, and as a matter of fact, what we you need to choose the battles. You gotta be offering everything like an agency. I mean, sure you can, but you lose focus, right? Like paid ads, SEO, CRO is like so.
Hmm.
But what we chose is basically getting more control. First, trying to transition from media buying to growth marketing for our own media buyers. They keep looking at the ad account very frequently every single day, but they also look every single day outside, or almost every single day, I would say, outside the ad account. If it's a Shopify store, they look Shopify. If they have any attribution tool, they look at it. If they have any other external tool, they look at it. We analyze the offer. We create landing pages. So it's controlling the message because sometimes everything is. I took a look at an account the other day, and in December the performance tanked, but not on Facebook. It was after the click, right? And it wasn't the offer either. It was that they overspent. It doesn't matter right now, but they overspent a lot. They said, hey, we did great in November, classic mistake, and they doubled
Mhm.
down in December without knowing what was going to happen because it was a new brand and they had a lot of extra traffic, same CPC, same cost, etc. But the conversion rate on even on Shopify tanked, right? So you gotta know the numbers. You gotta analyze, how we did in the previous years. Take a look at the cohorts, how people buying, I don't know, in 1 month behave throughout the year, how much they spend, what's the typical average order value, etc. So brands, I think, at least we work mainly with e-commerce brands, are trying to be profitable, and they have higher costs and less margins, many of them, right? And they were struggling
Mhm.
with that in 2021, 2022, I would say, 2023. So trying to increase the average order value, trying to increase the LTV, trying to decrease the time per purchases, it's or being profitable in the first order by trying to extend the terms in which you pay the vendors without with tech tools or without them. So there are many things that sometimes you need to choose as an agency to focus on many of those, some of those, or none of those. But I think there are many things to look at the ad account, but many things that, and it's tough for a media buyer without experience outside the ad account as well to get out of their comfort zone and take a look at things that are not an ad or an ad set as well. Make
Yeah,
sense?
I think it's good. I think those are good points. I mean, ultimately, it's understanding all of the factors that impact your ability to get good results, and whether you take control over some of those things, select clients who have set those up properly. Um, you know, uh, One way or the other, those are the areas to focus on. So yeah, it's attribution, it's the budget they have available. Like if you can't spend more than a few $100 a month, you have to have realistic expectations about the kind of results you're going to get, right? Um, but also, what's the brand reputation, and are they building an audience organically too? Like so many brands just think, oh, just run ads, right? That's all we need to do. We don't need a organic strategy. And truthfully, organic makes the ads more effective, and ads can make organic more effective. And whether you're managing both, which might not be ideal, or just making sure someone has that in place as well is important. And just otherwise, focusing on industry, whether you have a specialty in an industry where you can kind of be the go-to source in that industry and find, yeah, you have a streamlined approach to getting good results from it, but also knowing that like certain industries are easier to get results than others. So it's like, focusing on these little things as agencies going forward, I think will be the best way to get results.
What you were saying about organic, I think is very important because, everyone talks about the importance of social proof, but what is social proof? Like,
Hmm.
is that the 5-star icons you see on in a review or listing more than 1,000 reviews on Trustpilot or X platforms? Or is it to people recording videos on camera with your products saying how much they love them? Sometimes, of course, they could be actor like UGC, by actors or models, but many times it's real reviews, whether it's a video or a picture, it's something else. Of course, you can as well communicate your values, what you stand for. You can show your I said it in a post recently, you can show the brand personality. Are you fun?
Yeah.
Are you not? Are you funny? Are you so? What do you want to be? I was telling the story the other day of an 80-figure brand I met. They 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 sell men's underwear. They are in a tough and very competitive category led by giants. right? And they decided they started using models to promote their videos and their products, their website, everything. And then they stopped. And there are four founders, and all of them. You look at them in their underwear, and they are super funny, super fun. They go ahead and do interviews to clients, and they ask them funny questions about the underwear, how they feel down there, and many things. And actually, they even call their customers and make jokes, and they even record ads while calling their customers, and that creates a unique environment that you can't actually, or it's more difficult to show with ads, because typically brands invest in money even more nowadays. Nobody has money to throw to the roof anymore, right? Or less people than
Mhm.
before, right? So if you're putting money, probably you need to explain why it's not converting, if it's for top of the funnel or whatever. So brands probably spend time on selling and selling and selling when they pay, but organically they can do something else. Do you
Yeah,
agree?
so much of this goes beyond the ads. Like you could do everything right as an agency, as a media buyer, setting up these ads, create great ads, whatever. But ultimately, we talk about men's underwear. There are multiple places someone could get men's underwear. Why do they want yours? What's your story? What's your voice? What makes you different and unique? That'll make people connect with you. So between having the story, having a social presence, having a website that actually works, having a good experience so they can actually complete that purchase if they want to. So I think it's being aware of all these things that maybe aren't in your control, but know how it impacts your results too. Whether it's when you're picking a client and deciding whether or not to work with them, or making them aware of, hey, these are impacting whether or not we can get results for you.
The last question I got for you, and I really appreciate your time today. Do you have any book to recommend to the audience? We just wrapped up 2023, and it published again for another year the list of books mentioned on the show, and I really enjoy reading them myself. And I hope everyone in the audience, or many people in the audience who loves reading, can pick some of those books and read them in case they didn't, because I think that those are, at least to me, I learned a lot from many of them, and I really value them. So do you have any book to share this time?
So I have a wide range of interests that I read, but when it comes to business, I think Belonging to the Brand by Mark Schaefer was a good one for me over the last year, where it's really focused on community and building community is being, a source of business growth, and kind of consistent with what we're talking about here. Like if you've got people who are, raging fans of your brand, as opposed to just trying to pitch people all day with ads and hoping they'll buy, it all comes so much more naturally. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty impactful book.
It's awesome. There's one more I gotta recommend on that. I don't know if you read it. It's Superfans by Pat Flynn.
Sure. I haven't read it. I'm familiar with Pat though. I've met Pat. Yeah.
Well, John, it was a pleasure to have you here again. Thanks for coming on. Again, another time. I really appreciate. I admire you a lot, so it means a lot to me that you're here. So please, why don't you tell the audience where they can find you? And I know there are multiple places, but is there one place they can go to find you everywhere else?
Yeah. Really, the best place is jonloomer.com, just because anything I write, blog post wise, is there. Even my videos, there's the custom post type for them there. You can subscribe to my newsletter, join my private community at jonloomer.com/elite as well. But yeah, it's the best place to start, because otherwise you can find me just about anywhere at Jon Loomer. But jonloomer.com is a good home base.
So, thanks again, John, for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. Let's do it again next year.
Let's do it.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.